to Menopause Morph, your time to change. We're here to help you thrive through your menopause, bringing you experts in many fields to help you from perimenopause to menopause and beyond to become the strong, vibrant woman nature intended you to be. Hosted by Pauline McCarthy of the Pearls of Pauline, pearls of wisdom, compassion, and joy.
Hello, welcome to this week's Menopause Morph. First of all, I have to apologise for the few months we were offline. Life got in the way and I was sick for a long time, and then just when I was recovering, my husband got sick. And we all have to take care of the husbands when they're ill. So I hope you didn't miss us too much, but we're back in action and we have an interview now coming up that was actually recorded just before Christmas 2015. Sorry for the delay in that. From now on, we're going to have our podcast every 2 weeks. And I have some really amazing news. We were going to have our very first Menopause Morph Iceland retreat, a whole week in Iceland with amazing information from Alison Brown, an expert in overcoming many things in menopause naturally. We'll have yoga, meditation, sightseeing, and it's going to be a really amazing week. So look out for that. It's on our website, www.menopausemorph.com. Until now, let's hear the wonderful interview with Victoria Hargis. Hello, welcome to this week's Menopause Morph. Today we have a lovely lady, Victoria Hargis, and she's going to talk to us about living empowered lives. Victoria works with women to discover their purpose, learn how to access their inner leader, and claim their place in the world. She does this by helping them let go of their fear, let go of past resentments, and step into their future as impassioned leaders. She is a licensed practitioner of NLP, a certified hypnotherapist, and a certified transition coach. Her recently released book, Raw Leadership, Awaken Your Power Within, walks readers through the steps to experiencing their own awakening. She also has an audio course, Fire Up Your Leadership, to assist women wishing to further their ability to make changes. So welcome, Victoria.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so what does it really mean, living empowered lives?
Well, as you probably know, as women, we often live our lives for everyone else. And not that that's a bad thing, because we need to raise our children and take care of our husbands and all that kind of stuff. But we come to the point where we realize that we've been living our lives for everyone else, and we have no clue who we are. We are totally clueless. And so our journey then becomes, who are we? What do we really want out of life? And once we figure that out, we're able to live an empowered life.
Okay, I think I did that a few years ago.
I think so too.
Although if I hadn't, we wouldn't be doing this Menopause More podcast. Do you know what I mean?
It's true. It's very true.
And so if people really want, like for me, I woke up one morning and said, to hell with this. I want to do what I want to do. So what kind of things would you recommend that people do or think about, or how can they start to make those changes?
Well, it's really only 4 things you can do to make changes in your life. And one of those is to change what you believe, change how you behave, change who you're attracting into your life or who you're attracted to, and then change the way you assign meanings to what happens in your life.
Okay. So could you give us examples of those quick kind of 4 things?
Okay, so for women are pretty guilty of this.
Yeah.
Because we tend to marry or be involved with the same men over and over again in our lives.
Yeah.
And it might be a different name, a different body, but they have the same characteristics.
Yeah.
I know for me, my father was very emotionally unavailable, and I happened to marry 2 separate men who were emotionally unavailable. So it's no surprise that we tend to get attracted to the things that we are familiar with and what we grew up with. So not everybody marries their father. That's what I did.
There was one of the things that you mentioned, the 4 things.
How we assign meanings to what we experience. When we're born, we start to learn from everybody around us. We learn from our families, we learn from our teachers, from our neighbors, from our fathers, our parents' friends, from everyone that we come in contact with. And then when we go to school, we learn from school. Each one of these people actually, and environments, teach us things. And that's a good thing. That's a great thing, because otherwise we would have to learn how to climb every step every staircase all over again every time we met a new one. So it's really good that we assign meanings to certain things. We don't have to relearn how to climb the stairs. We just know. But it's a bad thing if we assign meanings to something that aren't resourceful for us. So, for example, I know growing up, I assigned the meaning that the only value in life was if you had intelligence. Okay, that was something that was ingrained in us, that your worth was determined by your intelligence. And as a side note, men are definitely more intelligent than women. That was the other thing that was kind of said. Women are supposed to grow up, go to school, get their MRS degree, and get married and never have to work again in their life. Okay, so we all know that that's not true. But if you grow up with that belief, then you're always looking outside yourself to be completed. You're always looking outside yourself for the man that's going to complete you and make you whole so that you can actually fulfill your purpose in life. And as you probably know, we all know women who have attached themselves to a man that has not been the best influence in her life that there could be. You know, whether it's abusive or just not encouraging her to grow and become who she's meant to be. When we do that, if we don't change how we assign meanings to things, so we meet the next guy and we think this is the person, or we have the next job and we think that's the job that's going to make our lives complete. As long as we live thinking that our completeness resides outside of ourselves, we will never feel complete and fulfilled because no one else can complete us and no one else can fulfill us. That's our job. That's what we were born for. We have purpose.
Okay, so that's great. There were two other points that you talked about.
I talked about what we believe and how we behave. And I talked about attracting who we attract into our lives. So I believe the one you're talking about is what we believe and how we behave. I can give you an example of this. There was a person in my networking group that I go to all the time, which triggered me. Every time I saw him, he would trigger me. Not that he was responsible for it. I was having a reaction to the way he was and how he was acting. That does not make him wrong at all. It let me know that there was something I needed to deal with inside of myself.
Exactly.
Okay. So I have been in situations where people have gotten angry because the other person triggered them. The response is, yes, I got triggered. And that is great because now I can look inside myself and figure out what triggered me, what needs to get healed, what wound is inside of me that needs to get healed. On the second side of that is how I behave. Did I get angry at the person? Did they know I was angry? No, they didn't, because my behavior is not dictated by my emotions. My behavior is the choice that I make on how I want to present myself to the world. And I don't mean fake. I'm not talking about fake. I'm talking about being authentic of who your highest self is. So in my situation, it was like, I know this is triggering me. That's something I need to deal with. But at the same time, I am not going to put my anger out there, you know, to make it visible to anyone else or even that person, because that isn't what it was about.
Sometimes menopausal women, they get a little bit grumpy or you know, some kind of emotional problems. For me, sometimes it's like, it doesn't happen that often, but for some women, they have it even worse. And they've put up with something their whole life, some kind of, like, we'll just say example, like their husband always drops the socks and you always pick up the socks and put them in the laundry basket, you know. And you've done that for 30 years and it's never bothered you, right? And then one day it's just like, why have you put your socks on the floor? You know, and it's like, and me personally, I think it's because maybe for those 30 years, you did resent it, but you never spoke up about it. And then when it gets to the point where your hormones are not making you be the dutiful wife and serve everybody, and it's like, why do I have to be everybody's slave?
I think you are totally 100% correct. We do things out of service to other people, but oftentimes there's some resentment to it, especially if we are not. I mean, like, I'm sure the husband didn't thank her every time she did the laundry or he got clean clothes in his drawer. It was assumed that that was his right. Okay. Therefore, we get resentful. And I'm personally of the belief now, I wasn't always this way. I'm of the belief now that if you're doing something and you're resenting it on any level, stop doing it. And if those socks pile up until there's a mountain in the room, he's going to eventually get the hint. You might have to trip over him a few times, but he'll get the hint.
And so we were talking earlier before we started about this victim mentality. Can you speak a little bit like that? Because there's a difference between resentment and building up and victim mentality.
There is a little bit of a difference. We often in our society is really quick. Well, at least in the U.S., and I'm not sure if it's that way over at your end of the world, but
over the pond.
In the U.S., all you have to do is look at our news, and it's a prime example of the victim mentality. It's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
Okay, we get mad at someone else and they made us angry. I hate to tell people, but no one else can make you angry.
Yeah,
that's a choice.
You choose to become angry. Yeah,
you do. No one else can make you happy. That's also a choice.
Yeah.
So, and the way you can see that that's really true is this: two people can have the same situation happen, and one person doesn't even realize that they're supposed to be angry because it didn't trigger them, and the other person gets red in the face because they're so angry about it. So if the incident that took place is really something that made somebody angry, then it would have made both people angry, and it doesn't. So things about victim mentality is we think, anytime you think things like he made me so angry, or this situation makes me so mad, or anything that you don't accept responsibility for on your own life, or you think that someone else should provide for you, that's all part of victim mentality. And it really holds back your growth. It really holds back what you can achieve in life, because it's not out there, it's inside.
Exactly.
It's inside.
And, if people want to make changes, what's the best way for them to go about doing it as quickly as possible?
As quickly as possible. The best thing that they can do, which is probably the hardest thing, but yet so simple and at the same time. If you really want to start making changes in your life, change how you think. And the way you can figure out how you think is start being aware of what thoughts are actually running around in your head. Because so many of those thoughts, in fact, it's been estimated that 65% of our thoughts are non-resourceful. Which means we're thinking negativity. We're thinking, we go back over our memories of what took place in the past, what's going to take place in the future. And none of those actually help us at all. Yeah. They really don't help us. They keep us stuck in future fear or past fear and not present in the now. So a book that I recommend, because this really hit me powerfully, and that's why I'm recommending it, is Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now.
Oh, it's amazing.
It is an amazing book because what it does is, and that's not the first book I've read on it, but it's the first book that hit me in that way, in that he explains what the now really is. Okay. And it's really easy to get to if you realize that if you're thinking, you're not there.
Exactly.
So just quieting yourself. And if a thought runs through your head, letting it just say, no, I'm not thinking about that now. And just, go back and quiet yourself again and enjoy the silence, because that is your battery charger, is that silence, that peace, that now.
Sometimes I have to remind myself that it is like sometimes this is, like sometimes when your husband is getting a bit amorous and he's getting into something and your mind is thinking about, I don't have time for this. I've got to think, what am I going to be doing today? Or what do I need to buy at the shops? And, and you're not enjoying the sex, you know what I mean? It's like, and I say, Pauline, what are you doing? Get your mind out of the shopping list. Get your mind into your husband here and enjoy yourself.
I know. It's so hard. We always have our minds going 90 miles an hour. And then it's like, how can you possibly enjoy your life? Because your life isn't occurring in the future or in the past. It's occurring now.
Exactly.
And now is the only time you have. Yeah.
It's great. And like we were talking about Eckhart Tolle's book. And what about your own book? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
My book is Raw Leadership, Awaken Your Power Within. And I wrote it because I had shut down for over 15 years. And I know many women who have done this. I am guilty of it. My youngest son was, and I'll kind of gloss over it. If you want to know anything, feel free to ask. I'll gloss over little parts of it because I can't tell the whole story here. We'll be here all night. My youngest son at 3.5 developed a seizure disorder. Okay. It's perfectly normal until then. But it was not like a typical seizure disorder. It was a syndrome called Lennox-Gastaut. He ended to have within 3 months, 60 seizures a day. He was on 3 major anticonvulsants. We couldn't stop them. Over 10,000 seizures the first year. It kind of went like that until I found a place that helped me learn how to get him off the drugs, get him out of the helmet, because he used to have to wear a helmet because he was smashed all over the place, and actually reteach his brain how to manage the seizures and how to re-walk and rerun and rebreathe and all that kind of stuff. So lots of patterning, lots of teaching him myself. I homeschooled him for years. And we got him to the point where he was running 3 miles a day and 8 miles on Saturday. And then life happens. So we had to stop the program, and he actually lasted another 2 or 3 years, and he hit puberty, and he ended up dying when he was 13. So in that process, I was doing the mom stuff, and I was doing what I was living my life and living my life for my kids and making sure they were okay and all that kind of stuff. But when my son died, I got thrown into a spiritual search, a quest that I need to find out what this all means and what the purpose is and why am I even here, which many people get thrown into when they've had a tragedy in their life. And long story short, I got told I was doing it wrong. I was grieving wrong. And so I ended up shutting down because I really was like, okay, I don't get this, but I don't know what the answers are. And it took until 2007 when I had one of those moments like you had a few years ago, or where I was at a retreat trying to break through those gremlins that run around in your head in business about not being good enough, not being able to make enough money, blah, 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 blah. And the last night of the retreat, we were brought to a clearing with a 20-foot fire walk in it. So as we walked into the clearing, the flames were 3 to 4 feet high in the air. And the thing about this was the flames didn't scare me. The 20-foot firewalk didn't scare me, 850 degrees. And I was not scared about that. What scared me was I had to say 2 sentences before I walked the firewalk in front of everyone. I had to say what I was breaking through and what I was moving towards. And I was scared to say my own name in public. So I had to say these 2 sentences where I died like 1,000 deaths while I waited for my turn. And I stood up. I don't know what I said. People have asked me. I have no clue what I said. And I started walking that firewalk, and I got halfway through it, 10 feet in, and between one step and another, I had my moment like you had your moment. And only I call them Mama Bear moments because it was like, I'm not living like this anymore. So I came home and joined Toastmasters, got through Toastmasters. And it still wasn't good enough because I really wanted to be able to speak on a stage and share a message that was stronger than what I had ever lived. And so I ended up applying for a speaker academy up in Vancouver, British Columbia, and graduated from that and took the top award. So it was like from being the worst one in the class to taking the top award. And since then I speak and I wrote my book. And this is the story of how my journey to self-discovery, my journey to discovering who I was and letting go of all the fears that hold me back and releasing all the fears of the future, because they're all out there still for all of us, and learning that each person born has magnificence inside them. Every single person. And we women, once we get connected to our purpose, nothing stops in our way. Nothing. We will accomplish what we want, and we'll move from living very small lives to gaining clarity about who we are. We'll make better decisions, and we'll truly have the life that we want rather than the life we have.
That is true. It's like you're preaching to the converted, is that the word? Yeah. But I'm sure a lot of our listeners really need to hear this stuff, because it can be very difficult, especially menopause is not just a physical thing, it's a spiritual and a mental thing. You know, I use the analogy of the caterpillar changing into the cocoon, and when we're in the cocoon, it's like everything is going crazy and our body's sweating and sticky and changing, but we're going to come out a butterfly, but it's like, am I going to come out a moth or am I going to come out a butterfly? You know, it's like... We all
wonder that, don't we? We all think that we're not quite good enough or not worthy enough and all that kind of stuff.
Do you have any advice on how women can harness their passion, find out what the passion really is? Because a lot of women say to me, well, like you've chosen this menopause to make menopause a household name, and like, but I don't know what I want to do with my life. And do you have any advice on how women can find out what their passion is, you know?
Yeah, a little bit of advice. Well, part of it is you got to start thinking about who you are. First of all, what makes you happy? Or if you don't even know what makes you happy, which I was guilty of that, not knowing what made me happy, you have to spend some time watching what you do in life, because some of that stuff's going to reveal itself to you. Another really good thing to do is to journal. And I am one that really fights journaling. I just bought my journal again. I will get to it every single day because I know how powerful it is, because we reveal ourselves when we talk and we reveal ourselves when we write. And another secret, if you don't know what fires your life up, if you don't know what you're passionate about, ask the people around you, because they know. They can tell when you light up. They can tell when you get excited and your voice changes because you're talking about something that is so important to you. You might not realize it, but everybody else does. So ask the people.
Brilliant advice. Yes, great. So your book, where can people buy your book?
You can get my book online at Amazon.com or at BarnesandNoble.com. It also is available in the Kindle version, so you can get it on the Kindle store. So
amazing. So maybe people can rush out and get that for Christmas.
It would be good. In fact, on the Kindle store, it's actually only $1 because I wanted to get it out as many people as I could, so that they could read it, and also so that they could leave me a review online. An author lives and dies by their reviews.
Yeah, exactly. Here in Iceland, we celebrate Christmas on the 24th. I'm hoping to have some free time over Christmas, but in my house, we open our house to people that are alone at Christmas. So I think we only are going to have 15 or 16 guests this year. Last year we had 22. It was a bit squished.
That's very cool.
And we stay overnight. We have no buses running in Iceland on Christmas Day. Nothing. So if you don't have a car, you're stuck. So last year we had 15 people stay over and camp in our house. And we had a relay, asking friends and relatives, and we sometimes went in to take all the people home. But hopefully this time we have more people coming that have cars, so that'll be good.
That'll be good.
So I really want to thank you for coming. It's been really inspirational, and hopefully we will have this online very, very soon. I have to apologise to the readers because I haven't put any online for 2 months because I was very sick, and then my husband got very sick. So I think at this time of your age, sometimes sickness comes along, bangs you on the head, So we will be back with a vengeance with Victoria's interview, and I will be doing at least one every 1 or 2 weeks.
That's cool. That's very cool.
But thank you very much for coming, Victoria. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Menopause Morph, your time to change. If you've enjoyed the program, be sure to subscribe to the next one, and please leave a rating and review on iTunes to help us spread the message about thriving through the menopause. To get a free ebook, more menopausal resources, and to connect with Pauline, please visit www.menopausemorph.com.